Hi you guys, this is Rachel Kirkland here, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being with me for another YouTube video of the week. If you are new to the channel, then I will always invite you to go check out my website, which is themodernshaman.net. There are a ton of resources there. If you are into this kind of thing and vibe with what I'm sharing, then I would love for you to just follow up with me, have a sense of one-on-one session or healing time, as well as mentorship or learning from the modules in my masterclass program. There's a lot that I offer, and if you want to kind of move deeper in your spiritual journey, then I would be happy to help you and to be of service in that way. For everybody else, for those of you guys that are tried and true, that have been here with me for a long time on this channel, thank you guys for being here also. It just warms my heart to have so many of you that have been here with me from the beginning. So thanks for being here and being absolutely loyal and continuing your sense of connection through me and with me. So I'm going to read the question of the week and we'll dive into the topic. It says, pretty short and to the point, Rachel, can you talk about spirits giving you a message through someone else? So yes, let's talk about that. Really, spirit can give you messages in so many different ways. Essentially, in all ways that you're open to receive messages. If you are open to receive messages through movies, through song lyrics, through olfactic memories, like smells that remind you of someone, then oftentimes spirit will use it. If you read a lot of books and you get a lot of inspiration from other literary geniuses, then oftentimes spirit will use literary like characters and situations and even just phrases, almost like mantras, to speak to you in a way that just like cuts you to the bone, where you're like, that was for me. Spirit was talking to me. Or those song lyrics that you can't get out of your head that seem like they're completely appropriate to what you're struggling with that day. But actually, let's just do that. Let's talk for a second before I get into your question. Let's talk for a second of some common ways that spirit speaks. If you want to go into the clairvoyant arena of getting messages from spirit, through those of you that are picking up on the visuals, then oftentimes they come to us in dreams. And we know those dreams feel significant. They feel different than just the random chaos and noise of the day. There is a weight or a density or a sense of seriousness and genuineness in those dreams. Oftentimes we'll connect with past loved ones or receive messages in a way that speaks to what we're going through in our particular day-to-day experience. Those are clairvoyant dreams where spirit is strongly speaking. Spirit also speaks with clairvoyant vision, like in what people think of as like a daydream or a split-second thought or a sense of deja vu or just a quick vision. Sometimes there's premonitive, is that a word? That's what I'm thinking. Like a sense of premonition to them, where they are kind of speaking to something that's about to happen or it has a causal impact in what you're seeing. But other times, it's just a sense of awareness, like kind of like that feeling of deja vu, that I've been here before, this has importance, or I've lived this, or there's significance here, pay attention. And they're through the visual cues or the visual scenarios of what we're seeing. Oftentimes spirit can also speak to us through clairvoyance with shadows, with colors, with shapes. And we'll see them out of the corner of our eyes when we're beginning to strengthen our clairvoyance. Typically we see them when they're moving. Or when our eyes are kind of like a little bit hazy, to where we're picking up a little bit more peripheral. Or like if you've ever, I used to do this when I was a kid, if you've ever like stared at wallpaper and then the wallpaper starts to like shift and create shapes, it's almost like that. Your eyes become a little bit softer and the muscles, instead of being so intense and focused, they begin to soften and almost focus on peripherals, and they're able to pick up, instead of the detail, some of the outlines of things. This is spirit speaking, or being aware, or trying to get our attention through the shapes and the colors, and essentially just being aware of that presence, of the non-physical presence, and spirit getting a message through that way, through our clairvoyance. in terms of our clairaudience, they can speak to us. Like literally we can hear phrases, we can hear things repeated, we can, they almost sound like an echo when someone says something and it feels important, or we read something and it feels important. It's like Spirit is trying to almost bold print some language for us. Song lyrics I already mentioned, I'll come back to that. That's another form of clairaudient communication, where there's song lyrics, you wake up with those earworm lyrics that are stuck in your head, or certain songs seem to come on as if they're speaking to you from the other side, a past loved one that loved that song. It's letting you know, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to talk when you want, or I'm here for you, or I'm protecting you. And they're coming through with a sense of reminder in those song lyrics. That's a common one. They can also move through in terms of tones, like frequencies, like almost the tinnitus in the ear, or the pitch changing and things, or almost like an echo, where they will have a sense of like you're able to pick up on the frequency of the non-physical shifting. My words are like today. So that's a lot of clairaudient form of communication. Claircognizant is kind of like the just awareness. You'll have this sense of knowledge. This can be like reading something and knowing that that was meant for you, or speaking to someone and knowing that that conversation came for you at that particular time. So that can be a bit of what you're sharing when you ask, like, can Spirit give you messages through someone else? Where you have the claircognizance, which is the psychic gift of awareness, where you know what you know. And you don't know why you know it, but there's this psychic level to it of getting information beyond just what is literally shared. There is an impact of that information. There is an awareness of that information. It has a bit of meta consciousness to it, of the psychic purpose of what's being shared here. Or when someone is speaking and they're using the same language that someone else that passed away always used to use. That's a direct form of communication, as well as the claircognizance of knowing that that came from Spirit and was speaking to you in a layer that only you understood, because that person may be completely unconscious of it, and yet Spirit is using them to speak to you in that way. There's also clairsentient communication, which is picking up on the psychic information that's given through the cosmic web, the energy, the vibes, and picking up in the field of electromagnetic frequencies, the auric field. And these are communications that we receive just feeling the vibe of a certain person, or feeling the vibe of a certain room when things change, and being dramatically impacted by that vibe. Sometimes that can be negative, sometimes it can be positive, but essentially there is information there, and Spirit can be communicating with you through the sensations of the body, through physical and non-physical sensations. So you may have the awareness that something's blowing your hair, but it's not blowing. Or you may have the awareness that someone's kind of touching or tingling or trying to get your attention through physical sensation. Oftentimes, those of us that are clairsentient and picking up on that communication, it's almost like every little interaction has another layer from the non-physical of what it's trying to communicate to you. I don't want to forget to numbers and signs and symbols. This is a strong sense of visual communication through clairvoyance, but it's interpreted through our claircognizance. So that is also a multidimensional way of speaking in layers, so giving you signs and repetitive symbols, or iconography, shapes, or sacred geometry, or like I said, numerical repetition of numbers that mean certain things, repetition of planetary awareness or alignment. So it can be given in a sense of communication and direction from Spirit. If you tend to be a very numerical person, logical person, then you may receive information that way really easily. And there's a bit of a download with that as well, like literally reprogramming the mind, reprogramming the DNA that can get in through numerical structures and signs and symbols, the geometry and things like that. So a lot of ways that Spirit typically communicates, and those are just typical or like common ways that Spirit communicates. There's always a lot more individual ways that we experience Spirit, but those are some common ones. Okay, I want to circle back to your original question, which is, can you talk about Spirit giving you a message through someone else? So I'm going to be honest with you. You guys know that I always am on here. Oftentimes this happens when we're not listening ourselves. It's that like billboard from Spirit where they kind of get in your face and they're like, hey, You ain't listening when I'm trying to give this to you with subtlety and through your own inner voice and your own inner guidance. So I'm going to speak it to you real clear. I'm going to put it like this. And so when Spirit speaks to you super evidently through someone else, meaning like someone comes up and says, hey, I got a message for you, such and such and such and such, or hey, I was just thinking about, like sometimes they're not aware that they're picking up on psychic revelation or getting information from the non-physical realm. And so they'll say it like, this is your friends or somebody that maybe is not into the psychic stuff, but they'll say, hey, I was thinking about you the other day and I was thinking such and such and such, or I had a dream about you the other day and such happened, or hey, I was just thinking, do you remember that time when da-da-da-da, and it's carrying this emotional imprint of a memory or a situation, and it's speaking in those ways that they may not realize that Spirit is utilizing them as a channel to answer your question or to bring clarity into your life or to help you in a way that they're providing that service. And it's not so much that Spirit is like using them, it's just this sense of that your desire, your need for help, or your kind of calling out, your prayerful heart, which may not be literal prayers. This may be in your heart just being like, I need help. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. This situation is overwhelming to me. We are feeling those things. Remember, the universe is vibrational in its essence. And so it's picking up on not just the words, like if you're sitting there giving the prayer, it's also picking up on the vibration that you're emanating out. And when you're emanating those questions out, there is a natural sense of people that have that answer, that have that offering. And Spirit will begin to utilize that just as a natural form of giving and receiving, ebbing and flowing. And it's not always a higher intelligence that is directing them and channeling through their words and pushing the energy out of the vocal cords. It's not always that direct. A lot of times it's very subtle energy that people that are in the flow, that give way, that say what they think, that don't have a sense of restriction in their throat chakra will begin to speak into your life. And you're like, wow, they're speaking my life. Wow, they're speaking my answers. And that can be a profound sense of Spirit speaking to you directly through someone else, whether they realize it or not. I will say also that I see it pretty often where Spirit will use examples of people around us that are in our close kind of body of family or friends or like our close intimate circle in our tribe, and they will begin to mimic experiences that either we desire in our life, like they will get the manifestations that we want, or we will start to see things happening in their life that we're desiring for ourselves, or the questions that we are wanting answered, we will start seeing them being answered through their lives. Spirit will oftentimes use a sense of reflection and mimicry in others that are close to us to show us examples of how to do it when we are looking for something that needs empowerment behind it. Instead of just dropping it, they'll almost, if there's part of our desire that has to do with strength and sovereignty and empowerment, then oftentimes our circle will begin to mimic or exemplify or show a pattern of how to do that, and we'll notice the patterns of how to do what it is we're wanting to be able to do with ourselves in expressions around us or in the people that we meet or the examples of those that are close to us, and or the negation of that, the way that we don't want to do it, exactly the way we don't want to live our life. We can see that shown to us with a sense of precision oftentimes. And so these are also ways that spirits speak to us through reflection and example, especially if they are wanting, if we're in a space of personal evolution and ascension where it's important for us to step into it ourselves, and we're more so getting the pattern of how to or how not to do something very clearly defined in the expressions around us. That's also a powerful way and a very common way that Spirit speaks messages to us to answer our questions through others. The last thing I want to say about this is that it takes a humble heart to be able to see and realize when those messages are being spoken. If we are willing to listen, if we are willing to slow down and self-assess and notice all the avenues in which Spirit is speaking to us, then we will find that Spirit is speaking all over the place. We are living and breathing and swimming in the expression of non-physical to us, in the communication waves that are coming towards us. And so all of that being said, I would encourage you just to remain in that energy of humility open to what Spirit has to say, and ask yourself in your own heart and your own head, when something comes out and someone's speaking, is this message for me? Is this a message that Spirit's trying to speak to me? And you'll know. You'll have a sense of peace with it, a yes with it, or a sense of bounce back of, not feeling it. That's called resonance, right? We'll either resonate, and that will be a morsel from us, from the non-physical, with a sense of direction and guidance and help in our lives, or it will bounce off and the timing is not there, and that message is a little bit more about the bounce than it is about the receptivity. All of that is helpful in our ascension journey. So I hope this video has been a blessing to you guys. I will sign off, and I'll be back here next week.